Hi there, I'm Logan Medish, and this is High Caliber History. I'm at Milestone Auctions in Willoughby, Ohio, taking a look at some of the firearms in their upcoming premiere sale on October 29th and 30th. And this is a very interesting revolver. The Galand revolver is, in and of itself, a very unique and very interesting gun. But Galand's Sportsman model of the 1868 is really unusual and really unique in that it has this shoulder stock that folds out and then folds down so that you can put it up to your shoulder and fire this revolver as what today I guess would be considered a short-barreled rifle, although that is not the case given the vintage of the gun. But it really takes the interesting loading and ejecting mechanism of the Galand and takes it to a whole different level. Of course, the way the Galand works is you press in on this catch and it releases the trigger guard, and the trigger guard comes down, and the cylinder and this plate move forward. They rotate as one, and it moves forward as one entity until a certain point, and then the plate stops and the cylinder continues to move forward, and that ejects the spent cartridge cases. So it works pretty quick. You know, you press the button and wow, you just whip the whole thing forward kind of like that. And so the plate and the cylinder, as I mentioned, rotate as one, and they're indexing on this, this little pin here that keeps everything in line. And the mechanism just clicks back into place just like that. But the shoulder stock, as I mentioned, is really the interesting part about this design. Even though the stock is fairly rudimentary, you know, there's not a whole lot going on here. You've got just this one main piece of metal that has been bent, and then this other piece of metal gets a slight bend put into it for the part that actually goes into your shoulder, and it just attaches with a simple screw here, and then it just attaches into the frame. There is a little cutout. Of course, this is a little spring-loaded catch, and there is a little cutout in the grips where the catch mechanism fits when it's folded up, and when you deploy the pistol, when you deploy the stock on the pistol, it snaps into place in that recess in the grips. This design and reloading mechanism is widely regarded as the fastest way to reload a revolver in the mid-19th century. Of course, the single-action army is infinitely slower, one round at a time. Smith & Wesson top break revolvers are getting there. You know, you can get the cartridges out pretty quickly, but Galand was kind of the innovator, certainly in terms of his design mechanisms for things and how they worked in the ejection of those cartridges. But the Sportsman model really just kind of takes things a step further. We have this handgun here, and like I mentioned, it is totally integral the way the stock fits into this. And it's not exactly the most comfortable thing in the world to hold up, but it does point fairly well. And, you know, as a right-handed shooter, it's got just the right amount of cast in the stock, and it brings it over so that the sights are actually lined up really well for me, which is, you know, your mileage may vary if you were to put yourself in a position to be shouldering this firearm. But it took a standard revolver and brought it into the sporting realm, the hunting realm, and that was what the goal was for this revolver. Of course, the Galand design was widely used in the Franco-Prussian War of 1870, and so it is definitely more familiar and more regarded as a military revolver, but it's actually got a sporting side to it as well when we deal with this wire stock on here. And of course, you know, you encounter Galands fairly frequently. They are not terribly difficult to come across, but finding one of the Sportsman models of the 1868 that has the folding wire stock, that's definitely a treat to come across something like this. Not the most comfortable in terms of in the shoulder. As I mentioned, it points well, but the shoulder part of the shoulder stock that goes into your shoulder does have a tendency to dig a little bit here at the end. But I guess beggars can't be choosers in that regard. My biggest complaint, though, is that when you fold this up and you bring it to the side, there's nothing that holds this gun or holds this stock in tension to the gun. And so it swings free when you let go of it, if you were to let gravity do its work. And then you also have the issue that it kind of crosses over your muzzle just a hair when it's folded up. And so you can't necessarily shoot this gun with it folded. It's also very uncomfortable when you try to grip the gun. You know, your hand ends up pressing into part of the stock mechanism. So you really can't shoot this gun with the stock folded for a variety of different reasons. But, you know, I think if you went out and purchased this gun, you purchased it with the intent of shooting it as the shoulder fired arm that Galand intended you to be using it as. So at any rate, just a really, really neat design. The Galand in itself being a really, really neat design. But then when you go ahead and add into it this folding wire stock on the end, you get yourself an incredibly unusual, incredibly unique gun, and something that you're just not going to see every day. But they've got one here at the end of October waiting for you to add it to your collection. Thanks for tuning into this episode of High Caliber History, and thanks to Milestone Auctions for letting me take a look at some of the fantastic pieces that they've got. Hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you right here on the next episode.